You switch the target to something like, oh, I don't know, Sony Pictures Animation. You make those comments about how their movies suck and that you hate the studio, and you end up receiving a public backlash where people claim that your comments are too harsh and label you as biased. And then you get a whole bunch of people telling you that you're a bad person because your opinions have gone too far. Meanwhile, others would do the same thing towards Illumination and they get a pass and even high praise for their comment.
Now this is yet another channel that shows me just how much potential can online creators reach when the tools and knowledge are available to you. ElectricDragon, or Animat depending on how you know it, is an animation channel that covers reviews, vlogs and documentaries about moments in animation history. From the story of how certain companies came to be, to even all the information regarding one of the longest productions ever, The Thief and the Cobbler. This one's my favorite if I'm honest with you. This channel will go out of its way to give you all the information possible with an appealing and cohesive narrative in order to appreciate the story behind certain elements within the segment themselves. And recently he has been able to work with a separate group in order to make entertaining recreations of how certain events could have played off. I love this little detail since it humanizes the story even more, as well as I can see this going on a History Channel documentary if it had a bit more creative freedom to go nuts with the visuals.
And not long after The Lion King's release, he resigned and sued the company for money he was owed at the time.
You haven't seen the last of me! You'll pay for this! You'll all pay!
And being on a bit of a budget cut. To be honest, is the History series what I can consider the channel's biggest strength. There's nothing wrong with the vlogs, in fact some of them can be just as informative if you ask me. But if you have seen a review channel in the past, then the only difference might be that he's doing it. Which I'm not saying is a bad thing. Most times all a YouTuber needs is a personal touch on an established formula in order to work. But compared to the History series, you just cannot compete, you know? And okay, without becoming into a grumpy bastard, I do think it's important to talk about the reviews themselves, more specifically the execution of them. Reviews by principle have a more creative freedom than a critique because the former is more subjective than the latter. One is the expression of an opinion towards a product, while the other is supposed to be more objective with its observations. Criticism is supposed to be more tangible, something that works majorly on a technical aspect, like in the case of a film and animations, you might need to discuss camera work, composition, performance, in conjunction with the previous elements, how cohesive is the story, and to give tangible examples of your arguments throughout the feature. Like exact points that can visually stand to your arguments against the ones by the creators. In other words, a review answers questions like, did you like this? While a critic answers ones like, does this work? According to music composer Dave Lightman, the best quality person is someone who understands the intricacies involved because probably they have encountered this in their own work or studies. Now, this doesn't mean that only artists of a specific area can criticize each other, but rather people with the knowledge of how a certain project or product works. I mean, we can't talk about what's wrong with a vehicle without first at least knowing what's supposed to be doing, right? However, it also comes down to the fact that these elements get mixed up and what are ultimately opinions tend to be talked like facts, and that's majorly a writing problem within reviewers themselves because, as I have mentioned throughout this marathon, what you say is just as important as how you say it. Hell, sometimes the how is more important, at least if you ask me. In that same article, Mr. Lightman expresses that the very act of review presupposes that the writer is recommending the work to be worthy of attention. In a review, there is no opportunity for negative opinions because the gist of the writing should be objective information. In no case should a review turn personal. There is no purpose served when a reviewer negates an artist's motives or personality. All that accomplishes is to reveal more about the writer than the subject. Now, I don't 100% agree with what he says because I feel that's limiting the expressive freedom of a person to discuss a topic. But there is an argument to be made and leads to the major point of observation that I consider worth giving to Animat and other potential reviewers and writers out there. Opinions are not facts, and even if we know that, we need to clarify that. This can definitely be all a matter of perspectives, but there are occasions where, at least in this channel, the expressions will turn his thoughts in what I like to call factual opinions. As in, his work is the word and there's no point on creating a discussion about it. Now, I should be clear that he's not super strong on his thoughts like other YouTubers out there, but hating on a project because of how it stands against other works in the same field doesn't really add much to the conversation, since the only people that will get the argument are the ones that consume a type of product just as much as you do. Being cliche or say by comparison to other projects doesn't automatically make a project bad or not worth watching. It's just cliche. I know these are all topics that he has heard more times than he should, and I apologize if I am coming off as demanding or pessimistic. At the end of the day, these are just my thoughts and he can work in any form he wants. I just think that it will be more beneficial if he went on a more focused direction with his reviews. To be either completely personal and just share his thoughts, and without removing the rating score, since that can let the review speak for itself rather than just fast forward to see the numbers, or to just focus on the critical side and not have any personal view on things in order to express the concepts in the projects and how the execution goes from a technical level. I repeat yet again, since I don't want to be a grumpy vlogger with this, these are just my thoughts on my experiences as a consumer from watching his work since his Teen Titans Go review back in 2018, and I have by no means a bad look on this channel, and I'll continue to watch it until the end. If anything, that's all I can kinda say in a non-positive look, since his vlogs are really entertaining and thought-provoking, as well as the history series. That's by far one of the best projects I have seen on YouTube, and I have nothing but good things and praise to say about that show, especially when it comes to getting all the information in well-packed videos that everybody can enjoy and learn. Thank you so much for listening.
And until next time, see you later, dudes.